And Glenda's going to be signing copies of her book here at Black Bond Books, as will our next author, Alban Goulden, who comes to you from Yorkton, Saskatchewan. That's where he was born. He moved to Medicine Hat as a young fellow. Later attended Lethbridge Junior College, University of Alberta, Simon Fraser University. He's published one previous book of short stories. It's called In the Wilderness, and a sci-fi novel called Home 1, Departure. He's about to publish Home 2, Journey, and then comes Home 3, Arrival. He's working on that right now. Alban's published stories, essays, and poems in Iron, Grain, and Subterranean. He's taught English, including creative writing, for many years at Simon Fraser University and Langara College. He moved to Vancouver back in the mid-60s and has been in the Lower Mainland ever since, and he divides his time between Empress, Alberta, and his home in New Westminster, the best of both worlds there, I think. And please welcome Alban Goulden.
I think this is probably okay. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, I think this will work. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what musical accompaniment I get, but you know, that's okay. We'll go with what's here. I almost didn't recognize myself in that description. A couple of words of warning maybe about the story. There's no swearing in it. I know there are kids present here, so I managed to find a story with no swearing. However, there are a few dead bodies, a little bit of blood, and a bad dog in this story, so just a warning. I'm interested in how people adapt to change, and we all have to do this. We live in a time of constant change. This happens in the interior and in the exterior. Sometimes we're not sure which is which. What I like to do is to take my characters and place them and follow them in an environment that has been changed, an environment they're not completely familiar with and sometimes not familiar with at all, and see how they react to that. And in that sense, I suppose some of the things I write are kind of like fables, not so much that the moral is direct, but there's a seeking and an attempt to understand something. The trigger for this particular story, which is called Manna, was an occasion where I was with my late father. He was 99 years old and he was in an assisted care facility. And he was just entering the latter stages of dementia. And up until that time, this dementia had been extremely gradual. And while it had led to a few awkward moments, nothing that was really serious. But I was sitting with him in his assisted living room area. Just outside the door was the area where they had meals and where the staff were located. We were talking quite clearly, I thought, about various things, usually the past for him. But suddenly he got this intense panicky look on his face, and he turned around to the door, which was closed, and he said, and then he turned back to me and he said, "Alban, I don't know what's out there. What's out there?" And this incredible panic overtook him, and I realized that he had no idea what the world out there was anymore. This passed, and you know, I talked him through it and took him to the door and showed him what was there, and then he reconnected. But it was that moment of panic that triggered this story. The only other thing you have to know here is that the title is obviously biblical. It's about the time when the Israelites, because they had not obeyed their God after leaving Egypt, were forced to wait for a whole generation to go to the Promised Land, and so they had to wander around the desert. And they had a rough time out there. and God took pity on them, and at one point he allowed them to have manna from the sky. This story is talked about in Exodus and in Numbers slightly different ways. But the idea was that they were given some help. Just before I start, this is not a world that will be familiar to you. Let's hope that you're never in this kind of situation, but I mean, it could happen, even in Coquitlam. The dog sees it first. General Chang yaps a couple of mad challenges into the sky, then whines and runs so hard she yanks the line right out of my hand. I look up. By the way, this is a female narrator. A body arrows straight for my head, arms flailing, Doppler's scream rising as it plunges toward me. I freeze, desperately want to move, but muscles lock in panic. Something bites me on the leg. I curse, but the pain jolts me into leaving aside and I fall down. The body explodes across the sidewalk beside me and I'm drenched in blood. General Chang is suddenly there, lapping it up off my face. Strange. Usually, if she gets away from me, she never comes back on her own. Maybe she really loves me. The next thing I know, I'm being interviewed by a young man with one blue and one green eye. He's in police uniform, taking notes. Somebody has arranged myself and the general on the nearest step. The damn dog is now licking my splattered dress. Whose dog is that? What? The dog. Who does it belong to? Me, of course. Is she a material witness? Very funny. Just trying to figure out what happened here, ma'am. Seems obvious. Body falls from high rise, hits sidewalk head first, big splat, end of story. Do you know the deceased? I don't even recognize what it was, I say wearily. The shock is beginning to wear off and I feel an odd disassociation, as if I could press a button and the whole thing would start over. You see anybody on the roof? No. The only reason I jumped out of the way was because the dog went all hysterical and bit me. Why were you walking down this street? He looks at me with those weird eyes. He's actually kind of cute, but I can't imagine letting those eyes look straight into me. I'm going home now, I say. I'm very tired. You can phone me tomorrow and we can discuss the weather further. I hate becoming involved in these things. At this point, a female cop comes over. She jerks her finger towards a squad car. We've got a ride home for you, she says. Looks like you could do with a cleanup. I'm grateful, and pick up General Chang. Behind me, I hear the young cop. What kind of dog is that? A Shih Tzu, I'd say quietly. She's a real killer. Later, I'm stretched out luxuriously in a hot bath. General Chang is asleep on the edge of the bath mat. I am finally relaxed, thanks partly to a large vermouth, followed by my vibrator. It's the only way for me to get rid of real stress. My ex certainly wasn't up to it. I've got Boccherini on the CD player, and right after that, it was Chantal Kuriatsa. I drift. The dog sees it first. Her yip, 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 yip is like sharp fingernails playing my nervous system. I lurch into consciousness. The walls in my bathroom have become transparent. No, not just the bathroom I see now. I can look right through the apartment wall. In fact, I can see out over the whole city. People are being pushed off rooftops. There must be screaming, but I can't hear them. Something terrible propels them. I get a glimpse of something. Then the wall becomes solid again. Oh no, I say out loud to myself. No, this is too much. A thought stops me. Maybe I should be on medication. After all, isn't everyone? Quickly, I get out of the tub, throw the towel around me, and step on the stupid dog. Sorry, and rush over to the TV. For some reason, I'm not panicked, just focused on wanting to know if this is coming from inside or outside my head. It seems very important. The news channel isn't functioning. Well, it is, sort of, but they've got one of those programs on where a clone couple is trying to choose between 3 separate homes. The announcer, a slim Oriental woman with black hair, strolls down a palm-lined street. She looks straight into the camera, right at me. Daryl and Joan want a quiet place in the country near the beach, she says conversationally, but close to shopping and city amenities, with enough space to add a pool should they decide to. Daryl wants a separate workshop as well, and Joan would like enough space for her 2 St. Bernards to be able to ramble safely outdoors. They're looking for a large front yard and don't want to be located on a busy street. Yet, they also would like nearby access to the freeway. In particular, they want a larger old home that has all the amenities and is ready to move into, with at least 7 bathrooms, so there's enough space when all the family visit, and where everything has been updated. Finally, they're hoping to come in enough below budget that they can build a new 3-car garage on the property. I change the channel. Same program is on. I flick through channel after channel. The friendly announcer sweeps her colored hair back, but then I stop flicking and look more closely. Clearly, this isn't the same announcer. For one thing, now she's not Oriental. She's wearing an ugly necklace with fat beads, and let's be honest, she's been into the ice cream at night big time. Her couple are called Lorenzo and Aristia. They're in northern Spain, or is it Italy? Hard to tell looking at the pine-covered hills. On the next channel, a slightly different pair is in England with an anorexic blonde who speaks with a posh accent she had to have learned in public school. Of the 3 properties we've shown Alex and Helen, which one will they choose? The more expensive estate with the horse paddock yet so close to the busy A24, or the less expensive but brilliant townhouse with its large front garden?